Hi, this is Daniel. I'm doing a review on Project Hail Mary, which is a really awesome book written by Andy Weir, another science fiction. This guy wrote Martian, so high expectations for this book as well. But in my opinion, it shatters those expectations. This one is much better than the previous one. So anyway, I hope you like the review. So onto the review. For emotional variation, Project Hail Mary focuses mainly on the engineering and scientific side of exploring space because, it's science fiction, that's its purpose. But because the fact that he starts off as an amnesiac, he has no memories. And it makes the entire world feel really refreshingly new because you're exploring it with him when you read, because he doesn't know anything about this either. Every emotion he feels was magnified because he's in a panicky situation. He woke up in a coma room in the middle of nowhere, and he's slowly getting more and more, maybe false, maybe true senses of where he is. He doesn't know. It's just a dump of memories that are trying to crawl its way back into his brain. I'm really glad the book was written this way because emotional variation was amplified and it wasn't just a load of exposition in the first chapter about where he is. No, it's very slow, very paced, and it controls it in a way so that it also influences how you're feeling at the time. So for science fiction, Project Hail Mary has an amazing amount of emotional variation, and I think it really couldn't have done much better than it did. So ideas, topics, and themes in Project Hail Mary. By far the best part of the book. It had alien life, all that space exploration, and the missions, adventures, and stuff. I know this has been overused, but Project Hail Mary takes it and then refreshes it and then amplifies it and then makes it 10 times better. Sure, there's no laser guns, no amazing spaceships that fly through space at Mach speeds. It doesn't matter though, because Project Hail Mary shows a really realistic and really amazingly refreshing way of exploring space, not just running through it and shooting aliens. It's very plausible, all the stuff that happened in the book, especially for science fiction, and it felt much more real than a lot of other adventures you might read in other books, especially parts where he interacted with the aliens and the other creatures that were waiting for him in space. It wasn't easy, it wasn't just magical, it was slow, it was paced, but it was controlled in a way for it to feel very realistic. This book covers a lot of ideas, a lot of knowledge, and a lot of themes about a ton of different educational sides, from molecular biology, mechanical engineering, evolutionary biology, linguistics, Newtonian physics, relativity, and a whole load of chemistry as well. It shows a lot more detail, a lot more realism in the entire space exploration, that it makes the whole book feel so good when it comes to all the different varieties of ideas or topics or themes that it includes. And Dr. Grace performs experimentation in many chapters of the book, whether it's through memory or through actual practical on the ship. But no matter where it is, it's always accurate and it's always decent enough to understand what's going on. So Project Hail Mary does take space exploration, that idea, to a whole new level that I didn't think really was possible at this point. So for written quality in Project Hail Mary, I think it was generally great. I didn't find many big issues. There were a few moments where adjectives felt a tiny bit repetitive, but the entire experimentation and the adventure and the space stuff were all described really eloquently, and I could understand all of it, right? The panicky moments or near-death situations of fire was well done, but overall, it's just fantastic, right? Adjectives were used, like I said, a bit too often in some parts, but it did introduce some new ways of communication and again was done really realistically. So overall written quality was great, and I really don't have that much to say about it. Okay, so I feel flaws are generally subjective and I don't like criticizing books a lot. But the only flaw for this book, in my opinion, was the repetitive use of panicky moments where Dr. Grace realizes something bad happened and is like, oh no. And that feels too often. It feels kind of repetitive. And when you panic too much, it kind of fades away from the actual terror of it. So that's the only issue I could really find with the book. Okay, so for a final score, I think I'll give Project Hail Mary, because it's such a great book, I'll give it a 19 out of 20. The realism is definitely the most attractive part of the book. If you're going to read this book, read it for the realism, because it is so good. It includes so many aspects of different types of ideas and different types of education, different types of science in a way. It felt really refreshing to have a new book that actually includes decent realism instead of all this mashing, alien stuff, right? The exploration was great. The amnesia start was fantastic. And overall, I really think it was a very excellently written book. So that was just my general review of Project Hail Mary. But I'll leave you with my favorite quote in the book that was, in my opinion, hilarious, but also deep in a way. I'm on a suicide mission. John, Paul, George, and Ringo get to go home, but my long and winding road ends here. Dr. Grace, Project Hail Mary. So yeah, Project Hail Mary, really great book. I'd recommend it for you to read too, and comment a review if you have one and you've also read this amazing book already.